There is no chaos, only patterns we fail to see. This is the Wren Files. She arrived precisely at 8 a.m. No call, no appointment, just a knock firm, steady, and annoyingly well timed between my first sip of tea and the first page of the morning paper. June opened the door before I could finish muttering. "She says it's urgent," she whispered, stepping back to let the woman in. She looked like someone who had never been late to anything in her life. Late 50s, early 60s, perhaps hair-pinned with clinical precision, coat too neat for the damp streets outside. Her posture told me she didn't want to be here. Her eyes told me she didn't have anywhere else to go. "I'm looking for Mr. Wren," she said. "You've found him," I replied, "and you've skipped the queue." There was no one outside. "There's always a queue," I said, "even when there isn't." She didn't smile. Her name was Jasmine Carter. She handed me an envelope, not with urgency, but with the tiredness of someone who'd held it for too long. Inside were 5 document scans, all greying at the corners. Photos of a house, a marriage certificate, a funeral notice, a lease, and a letter addressed not to me but to a solicitor named M. Garnett. "I am formally requesting return of my husband's property at 12 Norbury Crescent. I was not notified of its sale. I was not informed of the change in ownership. This was our home. I have every right to return." "You believe this house was taken from you?" I asked. "I know it was," she said. "I lived there for over 15 years. My husband bought it before we married, and we lived in it until his heart gave out on the kitchen floor." "And when was that?" 1955. "And when did you leave?" She hesitated. That hesitation was the first thread. "Soon after the funeral. It was too much." I waited. I moved in with my sister for a while, but when I went back a year later, the locks were changed. No one answered. When I asked the council, they told me it had been purchased by a Mr. Harold Linton in 1956. "And the name on the deed?" "His. Not mine." "And your husband's name?" "Terence Carter." I scribbled it all down. "Do you have any legal paperwork tying you to the property?" "I was his wife." "Which isn't the same thing as co-owner, I'm afraid." She didn't flinch. That told me she'd already heard that before, maybe from Garnett, maybe from others. "I have photos," she said, "receipts, letters addressed to me at that address. Mail and memories don't prove residence." That one stung. But again, no protest. "And the council records?" I asked. "They say I was never listed at that address, never voted there, never paid utilities. As far as they're concerned, I never lived there at all." June returned with a folder. I love how she does that, never interrupts, never asks mid-conversation, just brings what I'll need next. It's like she's psychic, or bored, or both. "Terence Carter," she said, handing it over. "Deceased March 1955. Cause, cardiac arrest. No known dependents. No surviving spouse listed." I looked up. Jasmine's face didn't change. "There was no obituary," June added. "Just a death notice, submitted by a man named Harold Linton." Jasmine blinked. "Once." "Who is he?" I asked. "I don't know," she said. "I've never heard the name in my life." I leaned back. Here was a woman who claimed to have lost a home, and now even the history of having lived there. A dead husband who supposedly never had a wife. A new owner who didn't exist until she was locked out. And no record, no paper trail to back her life. "You're asking me to prove you existed," I said. "I'm asking you to prove I wasn't erased." 12 Norbury Crescent didn't look like a house with secrets. It looked ordinary. Not in the quiet, unassuming way, but in that dull, over-renovated, nothing bad ever happened here way. New paint, new mailbox, new number plate. A garden too tidy for spring. Whatever history had once lived here had been scrubbed out with bleach and planning permission. The man who answered the door was in his 40s, shirt tucked in too tightly. Smile tight, too. "Can I help you?" "Lucian Wren," I said, showing my card. "Private inquiries. May I come in?" "Depends what you're inquiring about." "Jasmine Carter." His face didn't flicker, not a twitch. "Never heard of her." "She says this used to be her home." He leaned on the doorframe. "Bought this place in '56 from the council. Didn't come with ghosts." "Not even ones with marriage certificates?" He shrugged. "People say all sorts of things when they lose something. Doesn't make it true." "Mind if I look around?" "I do, actually." I left my card. He didn't take it. But he watched me as I walked away, not the way liars do, but the way people do when they're worried you might actually find something. Back at the office, June was already frowning before I stepped in. "I don't like it," she said. "You rarely do." She pointed at the desk, an open folder. "I found an old photo of the house. From before it was repainted. Look at the left window." I leaned in. Curtains. Faint outline of something on the sill. "Can't quite make it out," I said. "Now compare it to the new estate agent photos." I did. Same angle. Same frame. But something was missing. "No curtains," I muttered. "No window," she corrected. "They rebuilt it." She held up the blueprint request submitted a year after the sale. "They tore out half the kitchen wall, rebuilt the east side of the house entirely." "Why?" "No listed damage, just marked as personal preference." There's nothing inherently suspicious about home renovation, unless it's trying to erase something. I called the solicitor listed in the original letter, M. Garnett. He agreed to meet at his office, though not without a weary sigh down the line. When I arrived, he was already standing not out of politeness, but out of practice. "I remember the woman," he said, pouring tea without offering me any. "Came in with a folder, said she wanted help getting her house back." "What did you say?" "I asked if she had a deed." "She didn't." "I asked if her name was on the lease." "It wasn't." He sighed. "She had conviction. That's the word. Not desperation, not confusion, just certainty. As if the problem wasn't her, but the paperwork." I nodded. "That sounded like Jasmine." "She had a wedding photo," he added. "One I didn't return." He opened a drawer and handed it over. Black and white, slightly curled. Jasmine, unmistakably her standing beside a man. Garden in the background. Small plaque behind them. 12 Norbury Crescent. 1940. I brought it to her that evening. She was waiting, coat folded on her lap, like she hadn't moved since I left. "I didn't think you'd come back," she said. I found the photo. She took it carefully, looked at it like it might crumble. "I remember this day," she said. "The dog barked at the photographer. Terry had to bribe it with cold chicken to sit still." She smiled, but it didn't stay. "They rebuilt the wall," I said. She looked up. "They took out the window." "They took out me," she said. I asked if she had any objects from the house, anything traceable. She reached into her bag and pulled out a rusted key. "This was mine. The back door. It doesn't fit any more." She paused. but I still hear it sometimes, in my sleep, the way the lock used to click, the way the hallway smelled. She looked up. I wasn't just a guest there, Mr. Wren. I was the one who kept it warm. The man's name was Bernard Fielding. Retired now. Lived 3 streets away. A plumber once known for fixing things no one else wanted to touch. He remembered the house. More specifically, he remembered her. I did the boiler at number 12. Must have been 53, maybe 54. He sipped his tea, then added, "She made biscuits." "Describe her," I said. "Tall, sharp voice. Kind, though, the type who looked you in the eye when she paid you." "Her name?" He squinted. "Didn't ask. Clients were clients. But I remember the flowers. She had these red geraniums in the front, always perfect. The new bloke? Doesn't even water the hedge." I handed him the photo. "That's her." He studied it. "I remember that hat." Then, softer, "You don't forget people like her, but the house, it forgot her, didn't it?" Back at the office, June was doing what June does best, digging. She looked up as I entered. "Found something you'll want to see." On the desk were 3 items. A faded black and white photo of the Norbury Crescent garden, a folded handwritten letter addressed to Mrs. T. Carter, and a housing registration form from 1955, line 7, name blank. "Council archive scan," June explained. "This form was part of the occupancy record for number 12. Terence Carter is listed as owner, but this second name line was erased." "Erased?" "Scrubbed, not omitted, deliberately removed." I looked closer. There was still impression in the paper, the faint hint of old ink. "You ran enhancement?" June handed me a second scan. Faint, but legible. Jasmine Carter. We went back to the house. The current owner wasn't home or pretending not to be. June waited in the car. I walked the perimeter. At the side wall, old brick now covered with plaster, I found something. A square impression, flush with the stone. I tapped it. Hollow. Scratched the plaster. And there it was. A brass plate, half caked in paint, just visible beneath years of cover. Carter Residence, Est 1940. Not official, not legal, just sentimental. But real. And still there. I showed Jasmine the nameplate the next day. She held it like it might burn her. "I polished it once a week," she said. "Terry said it was pointless, that no one looked at it, but I did, every time I left, every time I came home." She stared out the window. "They didn't just paint over the house, they painted over me." She turned to me. "But you found it." A week later, I sent Bernard's testimony, the council record, and the nameplate photo to Garnett. He submitted a new claim not for ownership, but for historical tenancy dispute. A loophole. It wouldn't win her the house, but it would win her recognition. The file would bear her name. The record would reflect her life. She would not be a ghost. I passed the house again, weeks later. The flowers were back, red geraniums. Someone had planted them. No signature, no note. Just a quiet declaration. She lived here. And now she could finally leave.